commercial break. Viper able to pick up the MVP for game number 1. He was the only person that died, but he did a lot of killing as well, as Griffen just wiped the floor with KT in game 1.
It's not often that a performance where you're the only person on the team that died, and also you lower your season KDA, actually causes him to increase, but a 10 KDA, an MVP, CV Max seems very uninterested about this match. Maybe he's ready for pick and ban. Maybe that's where the action might begin.
Yeah, well, he's still waiting on this one. I almost want to feel like I want to wait for him to have a reaction, but we won't get one, as we're going to jump into pick and ban right away. As Griffen here on the blue side this time around. We'll see if anything changes up.
Well, they're on the blue side. Lucian, Tom Kench, and Gragas were the red side bans, and now a blue side LeBlanc ban. As Zoe could be a first pick for Griffen, they play everything, so we'll wait and see where their priorities lie. I always like to see what Griffen want at first pick, because it tells me something about where their strategies come together, because usually if you're first picking it, if it fits into more of your comps than another pick. So we'll wait and see what the approach is. KT going to ban away the Galio. Griffen will first pick this sometimes just to get their Galio bot lanes going. And a Yasuo ban after Yasuo was passed up in game number 1.
Just not feeling any Yasuo shenanigans this time around. Certainly it could be that Zoe first pick you were talking about, but a lot of other strong picks still left available. Will KT ban the Ezreal here last is another question we have to ask.
Well,
as no, the rest will be banned.
Let the record show that could have been a different game number 1 if BDD picked the Zed we were pleading for. He is on the red side with final pick. Zed can lane into Zoe very well at times, so...
Don't tease the viewers, Bob Smithy.
Really, should I just comment on the action? They'll really enjoy that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, I think the Vladimir is a very possible pickup for KT. Smeb played it in the Urgot matchup last time. We didn't see that. Ended up being a bot lane choice. They're going to flash it. But it seems like we're going to the opposite of a Zed lock-in and taking in the Lissandra.
Yeah. Do they not pick Ezreal here? Because it's something that's been banned for 3 games in a row tonight.
I don't think they pick it up. It's Zenit, right? And Zenit really isn't known for his Ezreal or his 80 carries. So I'd actually be surprised to see an Ezreal, but then the problem is that
it's so strong,
that
though.
the Griffen get both, right?
Yeah.
They get the Zoe first pick we talked about. They
There's
can take
Vlad
the Ezreal
available,
if they want
too.
Are we going to have Ezreal not contested? We might actually have an Ezreal
How about
4th
Vlad
pick and
top
ban.
and Ezreal bot, and you just take everything right now?
That would be bold, but it's Griffen, and they would find a way to make it work.
Strong, too.
Seems like Viper wants to pad his career win rate on the Vladimir. Vladimir Shen once again. And you know what? I like this for a very simple reason. They show nothing. They win with Vladimir Shen in game number 1. They're going to try and just finish the series with the same entire bot lane. And speaking of the entire bot lane, the Ezreal will go unpicked to banned, most likely if we see the Kai'Sa lock.
There it is. We're living in a historic age here. On patch 9.3, Kai'Sa, 45% win ratio. You'd expect that to be a bit higher, I guess. It's 18 and 22 so far here in LCK Spring.
As a career update, after game number 1, Viper is 10 and 1 on Vladimir. It is now equal to his 3rd most played. He's Kai'Sa, Ezreal, and now Lucian and Vladimir. Vladimir actually is going to jump ahead of the Lucian, so it will be his 3rd most played after Ezreal and Kai'Sa. Be kind of a big story if he managed to have career most played Vladimir, but that's just how Viper and Griffen approach the bot lane. Get the confirmation later. Looking at the bans here, and the Nocturne Shen is going to be pieced away from Griffen, and we might actually have 4 jungle bans between the 2 teams.
Could certainly happen that way. No Zac for any kind of big-time engage, wombo combo, killed the Zoe or anything like that. Banned away here by Griffen.
Urgot left open so far. Might just be the first pick in the next round by KT. Otherwise, Griffen will pick it. They're going to ban away the Jace and say, please give us a nice Urgot matchup.
Feels that way. Griffen could also consider banning it here, but not sure if they want to put so much focus on taking away the Urgot. Feels like it's picked more often than banned nowadays.
nothing really else that Griffen needs to focus on, especially after game number 1. So I'm just trying to wait for the bans and make something of them rather than necessarily be able to predict them, because it's just nothing new to read in on, right? After game number 1. Yorick going to be banned purely in terms of power. I guess they don't want to lane against Yorick from this approach. KT, again, the Urgot is going pretty much begging at this point. Fits really well with Lissandra Akali.
Yeah.
Lissandra and Alistar, I should say, and Kai'Sa happy to swoop in, so I think it would have been a mistake to pick anything other than Urgot, apart from if you're looking for some excitement.
Felt like the obvious pick there for KT. Smeb going to be hopping onto 2 games of Urgot in a row. Wouldn't say that his Urgot was really the problem in game 1. It was just overall the losing fight thing that usually happens against Griffen.
Well, we get a confirmation that Aatrox is the blind pick jungler of choice for Tarzan. See the Aatrox locked in here, so heavily expecting that to be jungle, but we'll get the confirmation very shortly. That's at least a learner that we're learning about, is what they blind pick as jungle when KT have 5th pick for Umti. Wonder how aggressive Umti will consider going. Remember the Kindred was banned in game number 1 as kind of a non sequitur against Griffen. So will we learn something about that is we're bringing back the Scion. Wow, a new champion for Sword. I said it.
I just took a moment to stare deeply into your eyes.
What did you see,
As that came out of your mouth, I saw despair.
Hey,
well,
someone who likes fighting against high health targets would be Rost. I'd love to see Umti on a pick I've asked him about so many times, and he lets me down again.
Oh no!
We only had 2 people in our league until Dread joined that would possibly ever play this champion.
Yeah,
the one that's not
well,
selected in this game, the Kayn. We had Haru and we had Umti. Everyone else would go nowhere near it. Dread has played it. Umti has let me down. And that means we get the Lee Sin once more that, you know, could pop off, but just isn't as sexy, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely pretty standard, though, nowadays in Korea. You see so much Lee Sin, and I remember there was a time when people were calling for the Lee Sin. We'd have Zac Sejuani every single game, and it was like, please, something more aggressive, something playmakery. And, well, Lee Sin can do that, and they do have an ability to do some CC and get the Kai'Sa in the backline and have some good team fights.
It's a comp that is really strong in the early game. On one item, they have unbelievable pick power. I'm talking Warrior Enchant, Black Cleaver. One item in the mid lane on the Lissandra. You have excellent pick power. That would require them to have a much cleaner level 1. We definitely want to load in and check out the level 1 because we were just in awe of how next level Griffen's level 1 was in game number 1. It wasn't about the picks. It was about what they chose to show and what they had as a response on the top side for Smeb. Don't think Smeb's going to make the same face check in game number 2. Definitely a fearsome draft from KT, but not one that should surprise their opponents by any means.
Yeah, lots of pick on this side. And going to be looking towards Umti once again to try to make some plays here on the Lee Sin as their last pick. Let's hop back onto the Rift for game number 2 of Griffen versus KT. Fans still going strong. As you mentioned, that kind of level 1 play definitely felt like a one-off. Let's try it out, see if we can bait him, and it worked.
Should remember that it also had a huge knock-on effect because bot lane was a 2 Dark Seal stack. Vladimir, everything was a little bit askew, right? Everything was a little bit off, even from the level 1. And Vladimir Shen ended up having a very competitive lane when it usually has a bit of a struggle. So maybe we'll see a bit more normalcy around the early trades and some more priority for KT. Lehends is spotted by SnowFlower.
Saw one assistance ping there, as there's a ping down by blue side, actually, right in the bush that SnowFlower's in.
Seems like they were considering some sort of collapse if he face-checked that brush to put down the pretty standard solo Q pixel brush ward to get information on Scuttlecrab being taken. Instead, Lehends, a lot more defensive, of course, can also skill E if he needs to escape without using his flash. But still the right move from KT. Good to see the fundamentals are still there at level 1.
So Vlad Shen returned to the bot lane. I know it's not your favorite, but you can get a nice start, I suppose, with a little bit of cheese, a little bit of extra mojo. You'll certainly have fun with any kind of bot lane.
It's also something that a first-round Alistar is kind of ripe for because it's not a range support, a super dunk on a Shen lane or anything like that. It is another melee champion that Lehends is going to be pretty easy to disengage with if he holds on to his taunt. Umti right now has gone red buff into invade. This is very creative.
And they find each other in the bush right at the same time. Q gonna go wide. He was trying to curve it around the red buff. I understand it, but when you go this aggressive, you'd like to hit your skills. Trying to get on in there. There is that one ward, but Tarzan's gonna give it away.
Really nice.
It's not worth it.
That's a really nice map move as well, because notice that the first roam from mid lane is from Lissandra, as you'd expect early in the game, and Alistar is there to back him up at level 2, so at least playing around the pressure means that Tarzan has to give up red, and that means no red buff, as both are claimed into a Scuttle Crab from Umti.
Definitely a great start for him if this was some kind of platform to, you know, continue your dominance in one game at least. This would be the way to go.
Thought he might go for the alpha run through mid lane, take top lane
Yeah.
Scuttle at the same time. I actually think that would have been the right way to go, but might lose pressure on his blue buff or worried about coordinated pressure on a blue buff steal, so won't be doing that. And it does mean that Aatrox escaped to the Scuttle. I just feel like if this was Score in form or Tarzan today, there would have been a double Scuttle from the side of KT.
Now, as pointed to you on the map, Umti looks like he wants to use this kind of wonky path to head down towards the bottom side. And earlier on, you know, bunch of health chunked out there, but in the end, nothing really doing. And that means that Tarzan
Spotted.
Yeah, he's spotted, but he takes this moment to go on into the Raptors and take them all.
Nice ward put down from BDD just over the wall to get any information on timings there. No doubt a coordinated play with Umti. I like seeing those sort of things because we're seeing, after just an abjectly poor game one, the fundamentals and the decisions about things like warding and playing around a potential jungle invade they would have been communicating way back when. Maybe something from scrims is still good. And that's the sort of thing, again, that's proactive and making things happen against Griffen, and it's the sort of thing that we weren't seeing from Jeanette in their pretty woeful performance yesterday. So we always want to inspect what teams are doing, and it's good to see KT still posing questions, even if the overall result seems not in doubt.
Yeah, but you know, a couple of good plays into, you know, a couple more. Definitely means as, okay, speaking of plays, trying to get on Zenit here, the Ignite is down. Viper not going to overextend for any kind of flash Q. Looked like it was a whiles away as he's still pretty low in levels. And, well, they do get the flash cleanse away from Zenit. They trade that with Lehends' summoners and going to take a nice win in the lane in the bottom side.
And the reason why you like that trade is notice that Zenit doesn't have teleport to get back fast. SnowFlower doing his very best to hold this wave because it's level 4 again on Viper. He's actually going to be fine and does get somewhat of a freeze or a little bit of a reprieve for his AD carry. But because there's no teleport, you know it's going to be a bad back timing again. It was Boots and Vampiric Scepter in game number 1, just a straight Vamp Scepter in game 2.
He missed quite a bit of that wave, as you were talking about. Majority of the first one and even the first minion of the second one, I believe. But gets there for the rest of them. Going to catch up to the Vlad in the end of that one.
Being said by a lot of top laners that Sion, after his chip nurse on recent patches, really struggles in lanes like Urgot. For now, at least, Sword has been feeling bold to walk up. Should be noted that Smeb knew for sure the enemy jungler was his own jungler was spending all of his time bot side, so wouldn't be there for any counter ganks. So probably has been more respectful and less wantonly aggressive than you might want to be on the Urgot. It's a really good discussion of how jungle pressure and mid priority can influence lanes from Bwipo on Euphoria this week, and talking about specifically how he couldn't necessarily do the things he wanted because the other lanes have been in a weird spot. Umti on a huge vision gathering information, doesn't find the enemy jungler, but does get complete information about blue side for Griffen.
Yeah, and it was just kind of funny because the observer turned on all vision, so the entire map was bright as hell as Umti was getting on in there. But in the end, we get to see all of that vision that he was able to put down. He's still hanging around in this blue side as They don't necessarily know that he's in there. Tarzan just going to take the bottom side scuttle and continue farming, doing his thing. He's up about 11 CS right now.
The problem there for the play from KT is that lingering in that quadrant of the base, or of the map, sorry, does very little for KT. Consider the map situation for Sword. There's already a control ward in the river, meaning he has no vision anywhere near apart from a turret dive. He's never, ever going to walk past the river again at this point in the game. There's just no incentive for him to. He was pushing the lane and getting a CS lead when he was aware of the enemy jungler's positioning, and now that he's not aware and has no information, he's going to hang back. So I don't mind the initial movement to get a control ward down. That might actually linger for a while, but the follow-on play, a little bit questionable for Umti.
Yeah, definitely has spent a lot of time to get on in there. Wasn't able to take any camps or anything like that. Just gets a bit of vision down, and Sion's still safe in terms of any ganks. Did take a chunk of damage away there by Smeb, but seems to be doing okay in the lane so far, going even on CS.
He was ahead, if you remember, and then the backs have come in, and Smeb has been able to be a bit more aggressive. Bot side is the surprising one, as Vladimir Shen actually doing a number on KT for now, about a minion wave, or at least a half a minion wave ahead, depending on where the minion waves are crashing, means that Vladimir getting closer and closer to level 10 when he gets the proc on the Transcendence and should have over 40% CDR to make Zenit's life hell. Watching Umti, who seems to be ahead of this play for now.
Being a ninja, but then actually runs out here, and he's going 2-on-1 right now. His team is behind, has to kick Tarzan away. At least the blue buff is going to release here, and Tarzan looking like he's just going to take the safe way out and not force anything here.
That was Tarzan surprisingly having that lane priority bot side, feeling bold to go for a blue buff. Still doesn't happen as we're seeing fights emerge.
Okay, insta-cleanse here by Chovy. He's going to have to flash away from that one as well. Bunch of damage taken by Umti as he's still in there, and the flash comes forward. Tarzan now going 1v3 as he does have the Shen with him as Lehends. Lehends. Okay.
I like your play-by-play. The whisper was all that one deserved. Tarzan played that perfectly, knowing his damage. Sion!
Okay, well, now they're having a bit of fun. Sword able to get a kill in the backside. Ends up getting the assist for Lehends as well as his good friend Aatrox. So,
all right,
the
Valdez.
blushes of his team.
All right, Valdez. Lehends down on the tier list. Sword up. I think Sword can be number 4 now.
Yeah. Friendship ended with Lehends. Sword is now my new best friend.
Deserved in that play. We're going to watch the replay here. Umti really horribly misjudged this scenario. It's a really nice roam timing from Smeb. He comes down. If you notice, Sion is still working on the minion wave. But watch Tarzan. The moment that these chains arm, he's going to pick up the kill. I think Umti misjudges it pretty horribly. They know that BD's used his ultimate. That's why Tarzan walks forward for the moment. And Shen, I almost said Shen, but yeah, Shen horribly misplays that until Sword picks up a fortunate kill. We're watching the back timer here. There was about 3 seconds left, and by the end, there was no escape for BDD.
Sword, the Sion assassin here in this game. As now Umti wants to get revenge for that one, as nice flash by Viper. Perfect taunt as well from Lehends. Denies any play from the side of the Lee Sin. And, yeah, they're pretty good.
Yep, able to get away, but a summoner's a summoner. Feel good about that if you're KT Rolster. Top lane build here is a bit different. This, of course, is the hard counter to Urgot before the interaction with the Bramble Vest was nerfed. Still works with Rammus, who does hilarious things, as people would have seen in on Reddit previously. But no Rammus top lane just yet in Korea. I actually think it's okay. I think it's worth considering, but no one else does, so
there wasn't any other word you could have used to describe that one? Just okay?
I don't want to promote inting, you know? People listen to what we say and go into solo queue and do things, Valdez, so I got to choose my words carefully.
Okay.
What would you have used?
No, I think you're right on point. You know, that's like
Thank you.
That's the one word I would have used as well.
Well, we've used a lot of words, creative ones so far in this series. KT's still in it. 1,000 gold is the lead for Griffen, but not a match-winning lead. Chovy predicts this one perfectly.
Yeah. Big cow on the way, though. Not going to reach for that one. As Chovy loves picking up his exhaust, it feels. He feeling pretty happy about that one. Not up against the LeBlanc, but still doing well. And Sword feeling like a bit of a big guy now after getting his kill. But Smeb's got one too. And now trying to actually force this fight here. Looking for the knockup, and he does get it into the ultimate. Actually, Smeb in a bunch of trouble here, trying to get away, but it is the Aatrox. But do they have it here, actually? Gonna try to tank it up, but Urgot's a big boy, too. One more auto will do it, but Umti looking to get this one, but the stopwatch comes in. And Umti's just going to give it away. Sword is 3 levels up on him, and that's just going to be the one kill.
I think stopwatch the kick there, if I'm not mistaken, was kick is on cooldown. The drop in damage there on the second part of the Q on the R actually ends up being important, and now actually Umti's in some trouble.
Yeah, they were keeping him under turret. I'm like, no way. But he does get away in the end, and Sword and Tarzan looking real smart after picking up that one.
Griffen this game, they have decent scaling, but you look at their squad and you do know that it's Vladimir and Zoe. 2 magic damage starts in the late game and very little physical damage. There's no guarantee that a Kai'Sa can't overtake the games, unlike game number 1. They want to be proactive in the early to mid game. That's why we're seeing them come up with some pretty good coordinated plays. We actually got a rumble around our feet there. That was a strange one. I don't mean the champion. Literally, there was a mini earthquake. But we should be fine for now, and Lehends gone for a bit of a roam. He wants a red buff.
I mean, after you run it down in the tier 1 and mid, you could basically just do whatever you want as, just putting down some deep vision.
Unfortunately, leashing the red buff hurts him there as bot lane.
Viper going for the Hemoplague just to help out in case he needed that sustain, and is going to, in fact, just Q that Krug to get back some more health so he can stick around underneath this turret.
Should be fine. Doesn't have W for a couple of seconds, but the extra movement speed is helpful to get a nice trade on Zenit.
Oh, he missed the cannon.
Small interaction I want to mention, I don't want to talk about missing the cannon, is that the ward was revealed because when red buff was leashed, it actually leashed onto Shen. I keep thinking of Shen. Lee Sin in the bush, so it does show there was vision of that bush and able to get in there. So it does reveal some of the deep vision that Lehends roamed for.
And now roaming up, just trying to secure whatever they can at this point. Keep in mind that the first Drake was an Infernal Drake, but nobody has gone for that one at all yet in this game, as they're just looking to go 3v2 down on the bottom side and use Zenit as a bait here. Looks kind of obvious, and Lehends gonna dodge the Q.
They know Summoners are down, Hemoplague is down. It's the right time to walk up. Griffen know it too. Drawing a flash already.
And a bunch of damage there. Chovy just padding his damage numbers. As
have you noticed the observers trying to keep the Gromp versus Lee Sin matchup on the
just
camera this time?
Case.
Just in case.
You never know, apparently. But after getting all that, the Flash had a Zenit, a bunch of damage onto the jungler. Seems like now is the time, at 15 minutes, to take away that free Inferno.
And I love the little things, because what isn't discussed there is Lehends contests the control ward. You see a lot of people die trying to contest, right? The one that's very much near the blue buff. But he contests it after he sees a chunked out Lee Sin take a Q onto the Gromp, which means he's actually zoning away anyone contesting the Infernal. So it's actually the smart macro move, and it gets the control ward. So it's a 2-for-1 special for sure.
And Umti and KT, they're just not going to give this one up. They want to get on in there, but look at Lehends' position in the brush. He was all the way back, and that keeps him safe away from any kind of combo.
So they're getting the most and also offering the least, which Lehends didn't do on the mid lane turret dive, but otherwise has been able to return to. You get one. I bet CV Max isn't going to be happy with that timestamp. But that part was better as Zenit has to blow his cleanse.
This time it's Tarzan that's here, though. It's going to be a 3-on-3, trying to turn onto SnowFlower, but Lehends gets down low. They get the kick here on a Viper. Do they have that burst damage is the question. But now Tarzan going deep. Going to be able to take out one, make it two. Tries to flash for the third, not quite able to get it. But now the rest of KT in a lot of trouble. The Sniperino, not quite there on a BDD.
Oh!
As here's Sword trying to get under turret. Now it's his turn to go underneath the big-time turrets as he's going to go down. But the sleep goes down on the Smeb, and Sword, he's looking for more with Chovy. They're going in. They're not done with this one yet, trying to get that sleep. Oh, it's so close, but BDD will actually get away on the backside of that one.
Griffen are playing with this one like a scrim, Valdez. They're going in so aggressive, trying to find greedy kills. They're not normally like this, but they're feeling it today. And after game one, you can definitely understand why. 4,000 gold lead soon to be inked for the side of Griffen, and Viper already getting a CDR on. He'll have, no doubt, a proto belt on the next back, and while it might not be a game-winning lead just yet, you have to feel like it's a series-sealing one as they look for this mid lane outer turret.
Yeah, it's one of those plays that it opens up so much. They get that bottom turret, they get this mid one as well. They already have the Infernal alongside of a good kill trade and a bunch of kills on your carries as well. I mean, Tarzan now is 3-0-2. Working on that Black Cleaver, and we see how this all begins. Zenit gets caught a little bit, but then turns it around.
It goes to contest, which might have actually been a team call to force this 3v3 that you were talking about. They open up and they get the instant kill, but watch how strong Aatrox is. All the nerfs that we've been focused on and talking about for many moons, and just able to always be hitting the sweet spots. 300 damage, not bad on the corner there to take down the Kai'Sa. The fact they go for more here is pretty damn out of order. It's actually very difficult to drift that hard to actually get the damage in.
How did he do that? He rubbed some oil on himself before this dive.
I guess he just needs to go over to the NALCS or the LCS and play some Scion Speedway. I think Sword might be pretty good. They chase for more because Lehends reminds Chovy that his ult is up. They don't get the further kill, but they do end up with that mid lane outer from the same passage of play.
Yeah. Gotta admire BDD that even after all the destruction of every time you go up against a lot of different teams here for KT in this season, he somehow finds a way to keep his KDA somewhat intact and not die in crazy plays like that. Everybody else would have got hit by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Everybody else would have got chased down, but BDD remains the sad and lonely mid laner. That seems to be one of the only guys here for KT that's doing much.
An interesting anecdote is that Chovy on the Zoe, we already mentioned the Eternally 001, so he's not much of a secret agent, has actually played more Zoe games than his second most played champion by 3 times. It's his 22nd Zoe game. His next most played is 7. So he's pretty good at these bubbles, as we know.
He's, he's done this before. Not his first day on the job, as he seemingly knows all of the angles here, as now Zenit in a ton of trouble. That Hemo play gonna finish him off, as Umti just kicking to try to get away, but the rest of the team is coming in here. As Observer, just big Chovy fan, wanted to get Chovy in that one as well, as he nearly entered a 2v1, but another couple of kills go the way of Griffen.
Observers know to show everything on the map because they're desperately trying to find an angle to either catch a wolf kill or catch a good moment for KT. You got to zoom out pretty far to see that. Maybe back to 2018, that'd be a good moment. I'm going to watch the replay here. Zenit plays it as well as he could, but because it started with the Hemo Plague, he didn't ult fast enough to get through it. He's eventually going to fall down, and then it's just finding ways to dunk on poor Umti after his execution in game number 1.
Yeah. The first series these two teams faced was also not very even or competitive. This one seemingly even more one-sided to the side of Griffen, so that's just the feel here in the LCK in 2019. It's Griffen and everybody else. Well, they are keeping that up in a big way. As who else are they going to catch this time? Tarzan and Lehends trying to get on top of the cow, but SnowFlower does get away.
Do notice that good old Tarzan is...
Oh, he's hit him.
He
actually hit him. There it is. The big one to the face, but not quite going to kill him.
If he had Sorcerer's Shoes there, might have actually killed him. So, not very far away.
Yeah.
He's about 150 health there at low magic pen numbers.
He had flash, so he could have flashed for an auto and then get the kill, so...
Tarzan's a level under the enemy mid, and the same level as everyone else until now, when Smeb levels up to 13. He's a big jungler, and unfortunately Umti is not, and that's after Umti stole the red buff under the nose of Tarzan, you'll remember. That feels like a long time ago. Drake picked up by Griffen. BD and Umti looking to find a gank brush, but let's see if FLICKR falls for it.
Well, he doesn't have his flash. Does have the Hemo, though, and so... Doesn't look like Umti wants to stick around here as BDD is miles away in the lane. Not messing around with that one.
He also warded the foremost brush and didn't have second ward charge. I'm not sure if he had a control ward. He does have 2 now, but thinks better of it, like you mentioned. Baron threat from Griffen here is terrible. They don't have any Baron damage, really. They obviously have some decent sustained damage, but not going to be true Baron threats. Baron turn, pretty damn scary. And right now, they're just hitting and hoping.
Oh, no. Zenit gets zoned by the Trouble Bubble. Oh, Tarzan trying for the flash there, but Zenit quicker on that one. Actually, flash is basically the perfect timing.
Sword is on the side of the map of KT, because Tarzan is backing up, but a nice little defensive ward will spot him.
That's the next level play where you zone the Kai'Sa into your Aatrox because he doesn't have the extra E.
Watching the replays here. Notice the Zenit's gone the same build once again. He's still against Vladimir. Wants the magic resist and the potential shred. Open up damage from BDD. This does get the attack speed or the E supercharger evolve early, which is something that most people aren't able to find with later builds and the insistence to min-max onto 100 AD to get the Q evolve. So just a little note there. Unsure if other carries will do it into bot lane mage matchups, but it's something Zenit did 2 games in a row.
Well, we're sitting here about 6,000 gold ahead right now for Griffen. The Drake's a little bit kinder to KT this time around. No mountain to Infernal.
Look at this farm bounty on Zoe. 001 Zoe has 850 farm bounty because of the average level of CSing here. Pretty damn insane. We're looking at damage numbers here. It's about 450 damage on the Trouble Bubble and 1,200 damage on the Paddle Star. That's fun. Yeah. Remember, there's an amp effect there as well. So, yeah, don't get hit by the EQ.
Yeah. Well, it looks like someone wasn't listening as well. The taunt comes in, and the Paddle Star doesn't seem to hit, but it doesn't matter. He's got an auto. As down goes the Ninja once again, hiding from the game this time around.
He tried to hide on bush, but didn't work out. Chovy poking around. I think he has one shot on multiple different people on the enemy team, and I'm not entirely convinced Tarzan doesn't have one shot on multiple members of the enemy team as well.
Like one rotation for sure.
Why is Sword there? Okay, he's just poking around for a Q, but
he wants to be part of the one-shotting, you know? He wants to do something.
Well, then where is his attack damage, Valdez?
I know. Chovy showed him the way. He's like, here's how you play Scion, and then Sword just didn't listen to him. Ooh, nice little snipe here on the Urgot, but it is an Urgot, and it missed. So, I say snipe.
Oh, a do-over.
Yeah. Not resetting the game this time around. As you guys can tell, there's not too much to talk about in this one after the early game, and well, KT, they still do have the Kai'Sa, but they need about 15 minutes to get that into a place where maybe they can have the big engage and kill the Zoe.
And you've got to take notes from more teams as Kai'Sas just aren't getting going against Griffen. They're doing a really good job of keeping up the pressure, even though their comp in game number 1 was slow. They were ahead of the clock this time. They do want to keep the pedal on the metal because they don't have any physical threats, and Chovy and Viper have been able to get that going. Damage numbers, like we saw, pretty momentous on all sides, and again, it just feels like it's being played at scrim pace rather than the increased pressure that stage matches usually provide, because I think KT, in a different way to Jin Air, they may not have counted themselves out, but they're looking for Griffen to make the sort of mistakes they just don't make.
That didn't look like it hit Zenit full out. It kind of looked like the Luden's bounce was what chunked him for 30% of his health.
I think it was the damage, just uh-oh.
And maybe the W here as, oh, what?
He messed it up.
Come on.
Chovy, you've played 22 games of this champion.
CV Max, he's pulling out the belt. This is not okay. As, you know, he's usually hitting those. We talked about scrim pace. Maybe he's just not feeling the competitive nature of this game.
Laugh at Chovy while you can. There's not so many times to laugh at him. You can laugh with him when he gets a big play, but laughing at him, harder to do outside of maybe some of his interviews where he seems a little bit like deer in headlights.
Yeah. That's a good question. Does he get the MVP and go to interview? He's on a bit of a streak here and has the most MVP points so far. He has 900, which means a current average of 1 MVP per series.
You definitely give the MVP to Tarzan this game. Yeah, I think this is what you're going to do. So I think Tarzan's running away with it outside of a couple of one-shots, maybe being too shiny for the voters to look past. KT trying to look around the Baron and find as much info as they can. Can't actually stick a ward on the Baron pit until they find out a bit of information about where everyone else is. SnowFlower acting as a mobile ward for a ward jump, as that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, he doesn't even have the Rabadons yet. Just Spellbinder and a couple of active items.
So how's your weekend?
You know what? I just started playing some ball hockey. I told you about that. That was actually a lot of fun. My first day going in there.
What's ball hockey? Is that indoor hockey?
It's, well, we play it outdoors. It can be played indoors, but it's basically you play it without a puck and with, like, a hard ball.
Did you know that in Australia, that's hockey? We don't have ice hockey, so...
But it's not on grass, right?
We play it on grass.
So that's field hockey.
Yes.
The one with the big ball that's...
Oh, so this is a different size?
It's a different kind,
oh.
yeah. It's a smaller red ball.
Is it close to, like, rollerball or something like that?
Rollerball, yeah.
That's also a sport, I think. There's a lot of weird
I feel
sports.
like that's from a movie. I don't know.
That's roller jam.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I can see how you
We call
make
that roller
mistake.
hockey over in the States, you know.
We call field hockey hockey, just like a Canadian will call ice hockey hockey in Australia.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense, you know. Flipping the sides to get a little bit of...
They got more ice, we got more grass. We just, you know,
makes
go with what
sense.
we got. Makes sense to me, at least. Get Atlas on the car. So
I like that idea. Does he know what hockey is?
Yeah, field hockey.
Okay. I had to ask that question. Not everybody knows. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Had my first day.
I love the, like, worried, sad murmur as, could it be a kill?
Here we go. Sucking down Chovy. 1,000 gold to Zenit as they want revenge now. The big hemoplate comes in, and the flash is on in as they want Zenit big time. Going to be chained back on into that one. And in fact, in the Zonias, Viper will survive for now, but 900 gold the way of BDD. As now SnowFlower trying to make something of it. In goes the ultimate onto Tarzan, and he is going to stopwatch, but he will go down. And in the end of the day, that's actually a one fight for KT.
I think CV Max is looking for a second belt right now because one belt might not be enough. Lehends not actually able to join there, as the shield not enough to actually get him the gap closed. The target of the Stand United died too quickly. And now things are looking a little bit more alluring. I say a little bit, there's still a huge gold lead. The Bloodlust hit Chovy, he went in with Summoners up. Let's watch the replay here. Nicely played by Umti. Could have considered Cleanse flashing at some point. Doesn't get the Cleanse flash timing down. Remember, QSS flash out of Elise in play. It's actually pretty common. You don't see it in this particular case. They chase for more kills. Viper says, whatever, I'm going to get some cleanup kills. They don't happen, and it's a 5v4 as all they get out of the Shen is, in fact, the Stand United seal.
It's a really nice read as well from Umti. It was a good setup play. They saw that coming all the way down to SnowFlower, stepping in front of the Paddle Star, up to, obviously, the Lee Sin play. That is the follow-up from Umti. And in today's world where there's all these bounties and the game is getting longer, I mean, they just gave 1,900 gold, 1,000 gold bounty, 900 gold bounty over to the side of KT's carries in the Lissandra and the Kaisa, so at least feeling pretty good about that one.
But the math being that there is still an 8,000 or 7,500 gold lead tells you maybe they were far enough ahead that amount of bounty won't be the difference, but it could, like you say. It's not what you want to fall into. It's one of those traps is somehow Zenit is almost getting hit by just the most outrageous trouble bubbles. I think he just needs to play around his range smarter as Tarzan is angry.
He's really angry. Kick comes in. Tarzan saying, don't pick on my younger brother Chovy.
Sword is actually ganking Smeb. It looks the other way around.
And Smeb has a GA. Yeah, let's zoom away from that fight.
He cycled his exhaust, the most exciting thing that happened in that particular play. Smeb's got a bit more damage. Got Guardian Angel in his build. I'm sure that was a gold value thing, as Griffen going to go for a pretty slow Baron and be spotted by a KT ward. Another ward that you should be expecting. It's very common in pro play.
Yeah. Chovy, though, is going to be the gatekeeper, but smartly they do turn around on this one. Maybe just trying to bait KT into not the best fight here. Looking for that trouble bubble onto the Urgot, but he's a tanky boy. Oh, the Battlestar looked like it missed. Still going to get the GA away from the Urgot as the Scion sails wide, and in goes Lehends as well. They're going to take out that Urgot, and in goes Viper, as well as the rest of the Griffen team. They're going to be able to dunk him down. Just one moment that goes the way of KT. And that was about it. At least Zenit is going to survive for now, as Viper and Chovy still on the chase, and Viper not going to die. They're going to be able to get everybody except the Kaisa and win that fight big time.
Space Jam 2 starring Griffen is on display in this game. They're able to take it down in the second game. More one-sided than the first, I would say, even though they did make a mistake. Looking for an exit kill on Zenit. He walks past a couple of bubbles, but he's going to be blowing bubbles alone, and he might even go down.
Oh. Well, there you have it, guys. Griffen doing the Griffen thing, 2-0 over one of the teams that they're letting. Oh, okay. I thought they were letting him die. There you go, GG, 2-0. Does go the way of Griffen. They finish this series now 10-0 in series overall. A little bit of a hug there from CV Max onto Chovy after that little mistake.
All these Griffen players look a bit scared because they understand that that actually goes away from their interview questions where they'll win a series and then they'll always answer, oh, we should have played a little bit cleaner. This time, you really should have played a little bit cleaner, and yet you understand why they were flexing a little bit. It did not really feel like a competition. To KT's credit, they were still trying things, which once again to me separates them from the Jinner no hope situation of yesterday. Umti's nice kick, for example, getting them some little kills back, but nothing more than polite applause being given to Griffen or even KT when the turnaround moment happens. I was at home listening to the crowd go insane where KT came back in that series against Sandbox and won a game. Fans dared to believe on that day. Don't think their fans believe today, sadly. Smeb picks up his stuff. No signing of score in any of the matches between Griffen and KT. And I don't think we'll see Griffen versus KT again until summer season.
Certainly feels that way, unless KT somehow can turn their bit of a sad state of affairs around and somehow get on the right track. But as of now, you definitely do feel it the most when you get crushed by the best team in the league, for any team, really, here in this league.
All 10 players have pretty much the same facial expression, all a bit sheepish, all a little bit upset about what transpired. And if you have the high expectations of what is the level of play we need to make Korea the best region again, that's the only kind of lens you really understand. Griffen players reacting like this because they just obliterated their 10th team in a row. Well, 9th team in Sandbox, I guess is probably a fairer way to put it. Regardless, they were on significantly a different level. You look at stats, and all the stats when you compare 1 and 2 in the LCK are so far. We're talking orders of magnitude 3 or 4 better for Griffen than the second best team. Umti cuts a very full-on figure, trying to pack up his gear. Obviously had some off-the-rift issues in the last couple of weeks, and then died to the Wolves, and that was, you know, really the story here for Umti.
Well, he had that one big play. I mean, that's something you could say, hey, I mean, that was good, right? How about doing that, you know, from ahead when we can get together, ahead together as a team? That would obviously be much better. As I love that, even though KT are losing a bunch and it's all sad feels on their side, Smeb, the captain, still sticking around, making sure everybody gets into the back and make sure everybody's, you know, not sticking around, moping on the stage, and just being happy.
Well, Smeb, the reason why you can respect it is, you know that when he was a rookie, he was on the very bottom, on Incredible Miracle, and not winning anything, and being criticized for his own play. He's also stood on the pedestal as the best in the world, according to all the votes in 2016, and of course, with how much the Rocks Tigers did in terms of winning domestically. So he's felt both sides, so I'm sure he's someone who can really understand and communicate as the captain of the team what the players are going through here. We're all some highlights of what was played at a very glacial pace series in game number 2 especially. Just too easy in Tarzan. We see why he blind picks the Aatrox. He does way more damage than my Aatrox, and nerfed Aatrox should in general.
Yeah, Tarzan just makes it look insane, even with the less amount of dashes that you get nowadays. Sword having his moment to shine. Becomes the star of that play towards the end. Ends up setting up this really long dive onto Smeb as well, which is pretty funny. We weren't sure if this was actually going to happen as Smeb nearly got away.
It did end up being some nerfs, reducing damage, and Smeb living on a sliver for the longest part. As we watch the end, the kick does go through, but he immune to the second part of the Q, and Umti at level 7 doesn't have anything to puncture through. Another 800 damage. There's that full interaction on that one. Again, there were some moments like this where on first hand is quite competitive, but you're paying the price of just all the other good moments that Griffen had, and some of the KT ones where they didn't min-max like they would have wanted to, and the Q damage is always disgusting as Aatrox. Always with those sweet spots hitting, and the sideshow here of the ultimate on the drifting was cool as well.
I still don't get how that happens, but makes it happen. And BDD, shout out to him as I did during the game. Made it look cool. He was able to get away from this one, so.
Fun fact, if you can Scion drift through something, you can Nunu snowball through something, as I found out. So you can Nunu snowball kill through them.
All right. Well, we'll have to wait and see when the Nunu gets played the next time
It's
around
good.
here, Papa.
Korean junglers don't agree, but I think Nunu's pretty strong right now. I was talking in the back about Conqueror Nunu. Try that one at your own risk, but I'm a fan.
I'd recommend the what's it called? The ARAM mode for that one. Not even the normal game, as
I think
you might get blamed there.
I think Chovy should get on the ARAM mode and practice some of his skill threading on the Zoe. Paddle Stars were on point. The Trouble Bubbles were on point. The Paddle Stars a little bit left to be desired. Viper got to win his 11th game on the Vladimir, 11-1. He's trying to get above 90%, cementing it now. We look over the numbers, and to Kai's credit, battling early, thick and fast, able to do some damage. Not too much other credit to pass around, as the gold graph looks like it was cut off by our scoreboard.
Yeah. It's like desperately trying to go higher to give them more credit, but just enough. Tons of gold going their way. And he says, I'm going to go to Taiwan to see Viper. And looking forward to him over at MSI. We'll see if Griffen make it that far. A lot of people saying that they should. And when you see them here in the LCK, you definitely can get that impression. But we'll have to wait and see how they do on the international stage once again.
Exactly. The opposition from other regions, LMS, LPL, LEC, and LCS, is still to be anointed. Doesn't feel like every region has a runaway team. In the LCS, of course, Team Liquid appear to be that. In the LEC, G2, but both those teams have taken a kind of meaningful battering to their previously undefeated records. And yes, Griffen lost a single game, but you still don't really feel like you saw a weakness exploited. It was a sandbox strong performance. They're trying to recreate and struggling to recreate in recent games. So given where things are at, the smart money, in fact, the blue chip money, is on Griffen going over to MSI.
Yeah, I mean, going to MSI, that's one thing. Making it all the way to the finals, we'll have to wait and see how that goes along. But, yeah, we should be getting an interview with, I would assume, Tarzan alongside of Viper. As we do have that sheet for looking for it.
Don't worry, you got some time to posture. I will entertain the fans.
Tarzan sitting at 500, so 5 MVPs. And
4 in a row at the start of the season, but he's only picked up 1 MVP since week 1.
And Viper down at 200, has 300 now after that MVP. And Chovy, the biggest guy right now on campus, didn't pick up one right now, but still has 900.
There it is.
Tarzan, as we expected, going to pick this one up, 6-1 and 8. Smashing him with that jungle Aatrox.
Definitely did. I thought this was a really good game from Tarzan. It vindicated blind pick jungle. Remember that KT kept their jungle pick, even though Lee Sin previously has been a power pick to last pick. I love the early move from Umti to contest the red buff, but from there, able to come through and shut them down with aplomb. Blind pick Aatrox jungle when so many other top laners this week were playing around with the Aatrox top lane. A notable one, and one that definitely works for Griffen.
Aatrox still does a ton of damage. Can't argue with those numbers that we did just see, especially once you get ahead and Lee Sin kind of feeds you early on there. So we'll be hearing from Tarzan and Viper in that interview. Wonder if they have any other interesting things to say, as we have heard from a lot of those Griffen players, but I'm going to hand it over to G-Sun to help out with the translation.
Thank you very much, guys. Today we're going to be joined by Viper and Tarzan for Griffen's MVP interview. What a start for the second round. How do you guys feel? I'm happy that we won, because it's the start of the second round, so I just want to be really careful, but I think we performed quite well. Tarzan, well, you were picking up 4 MVPs in a row, but this is the first one after that. How do you feel? Well, I don't really care about MVP. I'm just satisfied that we got a really nice performance.
총알이 따로 있는 거니까요. 팀원들이 모두 잘해줬다고 생각을 합니다.
Griffen players are
1세트
performing
아주
so well
초반부터
currently.
인상적인 장면이 나왔어요.
So let's talk about game
시작하자마자
one.
부시에 숨어 계셨는데
You guys
그때
were
어떤 콜이
camping
있었던
in the top
건가요?
lane, top tri-bush. What kind of call back and forth?
이미 콜은 그 준비해온 전략이라서
Well, there was no specific call because we actually had the strategy ready before games. We expected Smeb to walk up there, so we were just hiding there and able to pick him up.
솔직히
Were you sure that he's gonna come there?
보이면은 그 들어가 주는 게
Yeah, because
라이너들의 그
that's all the top laners do, because that's the play for the team, because he's Yorick on the downside, so any top laner would do that, so that's why we were hiding in that bush.
정말 빛났습니다. 현재 11전
And your Vladimir stays undefeated, and you picked up the 11th victory today.
상대로 라인전 하셨는데
Especially
어떠셨어요?
during the laning phase, you were really strong, so how was that matchup?
그냥
Well, just
생각하기 나름인 것 같아요. 조합 따라 다르고 또
well, it differs on your composition, and sometimes Kaisa is stronger. So if you are good at both champions, you can pull out all the best things out of both champions. Is that natural for the Vladimir to have that much of a priority? But if you have a support that has a strong lane push, actually Kaisa can also have the priority.
자, 그리고 경기를 완전히 가져오게 된 한타 장면이 있었죠.
So
저희
this
보면서
is
얘기
the
나눠볼게요.
team fight clip over here. You guys were able to kind of have the game in your hand after this fight.
르블랑을
And you picked up triple kill over
이런
here.
장면이 인상적이었는데
You
보통 이런
First pushing out the LeBlanc, and then you picked up all the kills. Who was in charge of the call right here?
안 하고 그냥
We don't have really any special kills. So yeah,
스크림 때
sometimes we just
대화
go like any
없이
backup or
스크림을
something,
한다고 해서
but nothing
유명한데요.
special.
실제로
I heard you guys
도전하실
do
때도 많은
scrims
대화를
without
나누는
talking a lot.
분은 아닌가요?
Does that actually happen in the competitive games also?
다 모를 거예요. 기억이 안 나가지고.
Well, I mean, all the players, it's
네.
really hard to remember what kind of calls we had during
자,
the
타잔
fights.
선수 오늘 특히 2세트에서
Tarzan,
라인업 존재감을 보여주셨습니다.
you are strong
더
as a
공격적인
laner,
모습이었는데요.
and you are really
1대4
aggressive.
구도에서도 전혀 주눅들지 않으시고 딜을
And you were going
쏟아내는
all in against
모습이셨어요.
multiple
오늘
players.
어떻게 이렇게 공격적인
How are you able to pull that off today?
아트록스가 원래 궁이 있으면은 좀
Well,
자신감 있게 플레이할 수 있는
you can play really aggressively and play with a lot of confidence whenever you have ultimate on your Aatrox.
팀원들이 각자 1인분을 명확하게 해주는 점도 도움이 되나요?
And does the fact that all the laners do well help you to perform better? Yeah, they buy time for me to scale enough and stuff, so that's why I performed so well today.
굉장히 잘 보시더라고요.
And there were a lot of
그
awesome
짧은
counter
시간에
ganks.
어떤 점을 캐치하시는 건가요?
How are you able to kind of make decisions like that?
블루 쪽에 보여서
Well, in the bot lane, I saw Lee Sin
웬만하면
coming near the blue, and I knew that there were many jungle camps left, so I knew that he was planning some ganks over there.
있습니다. 타잔 선수의 더블킬이 빛났던 장면
And let's
바텀에서
check out this double kill clip over here.
상황 설명 부탁드릴게요.
What's going on?
이때 그냥 저는 일단
That moment?
물각이 안 나와서 계속 공 믿고
Well, there was no chance of me dying, so I was just keep going in and doing damage.
상대방이 잘 뭉쳐 있어줘가지고
Well, all the opponent players were kind of grouped up, so it was easy for me to put a lot of damage.
갑자기 소드 선수가
And
돌진을
Sword just
하셨어요.
went all in over there.
콜이 있었나요? 부르신
Whose
건가요?
call was that?
헬까지는 봤는데
I mean,
이제
we did
공을
ask him
갑자기
for the
공으로
teleport,
타워에
but
박으면서
he just suddenly went in with his ultimate,
자기는
so
괜찮다고
he said
했던
it's
것 같아요.
okay, but I don't know.
근데 결국 저 장면 때문에
Well, thanks to that
스맵 선수
play,
한번더 잡을 수
You guys were able
있었어요.
to pick up
그리고 BDD
Smeb,
선수는 결국은 못 잡았는데 좀
and
아쉽진
BDD
않았어요.
kind of made his escape out of
저는
there.
그 이후 상황은 안 보고 그냥
Well, I didn't really watch what happened after
딱히
that.
신경 안 썼던 것 같아요.
I wasn't really paying
소드 선수의
attention.
희생 장면이 빛났습니다. 자, 그리핀 오늘 경기
So Griffen,
이제 끝으로 2주 정도 휴식.
You guys have a very long break.
어떤 점
You guys have 2
준비하실 계획이에요?
weeks until next match. How are we gonna spend your break and prepare for your upcoming series?
다른 팀들 경기 보면서
I'm gonna watch how other
좋아
teams
보이는
play
생선이나
and practice some
좋아 보이는
champions they
전략이나
try or the strategy
이렇게
that
준비할
they
것 같아요.
try.
평소에
Yeah,
했던 거.
just
네,
as we do
선수처럼
normally.
연습 열심히 하신다고 말씀해 주셨고요. 타잔 선수
And Tarzan.
2라운드도 전승 가능할까요?
Is 18-0 possible for Griffen?
2라운드도 좋은 성적 보여드릴 수 있도록
We're gonna keep
열심히
we will never keep our guards down, and we're gonna prepare hard and keep this hard work going.
가능할 것만 같은 오늘의 경기력이었습니다. 자, 인터뷰
Thank
바이퍼
you very
선수,
much for this
타잔 선수
interview, Viper and
감사드립니다.
Tarzan, and I'm gonna pass it over back to our casters. Thank
네,
you.
승자 인터뷰 만나봤습니다. 중계석 나와주세요.
Well, thank you, Jisun, as always, for the translation. And I love Tarzan's little comment on Sword's ult. He's like, well, I didn't expect that, but Sword said it was okay, but I don't really know about that. So just a little bit of shade thrown his way. But hey, I mean, it worked out. They got the kills, and it was a bit of fun down there in the beginning of that game. But Griffen, once again, another stomp every time they seem to come out here. If it's not against Sandbox, and, well, just waiting for that next Sandbox series.
And again, because of that quirk of the system that you mentioned, it does seem like it is a long time till Griffen actually hit the Rift again. As long as this schedule we have in front of us is correct, it is a couple of weeks.
That as well, so
we're going to have to enjoy our time away from Griffen. Maybe if we leave them to one side, our league can feel competitive.
That's a good idea. Should we do the same with Jin Air? Or
I mean, I'm buying what you're selling. Go on, go on.
No, we'll have to wait a bit longer. As yeah, Griffen 10-0 plus 19. They're gonna break into the plus 20s soon enough. But more sad stories here for KT. As we'll see if their kind of schedule gets any easier.
It does. They're not playing Griffen again.
Yes, oh, that's true. They actually do have that same kind of break in the next week. They're not going to be playing. So next time we'll be up against Gen G on March 8th. And tomorrow I'm going to be joined by our good friend Lesnek LS for Sandbox versus Kingzone and Gen G versus Jin Air. Like in the first series, second one going to be interesting in its own special way.
Yeah, Kingzone coming off a victory over Jin Air, where Jin Air, of course, put up very little resistance. They faced Sandbox, who, of course, were beaten by a Freak of Freaks. So this is the time to strike. I think Kingzone, just like we got the confirmation in Series 1 about some of our power levels and Dam1 came out strong, this is Kingzone's time where, you know, no other word to say it. This kind of must win for them if they really are going to be a top 5 competitor.
Yeah.
There's no time where Sandbox has looked more ripe to be beaten.
Would have to agree. Sandbox definitely a little bit shaky right now. We'll have to wait and see tomorrow if Kingzone on the backs of Deft can actually challenge up against them. But that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you once again for watching. For me and Papa Smithy, we'll see you next time here at LCK.
You take me higher when I feel low. Make my world brighter when I'm alone. I keep on rolling, all with your fuel. You're like my gasoline that makes my dream come true. 'Cause this is the beginning.